With the Senate's independence on the line, let's bring in Hofstra law professor James Sample. Peter Baker is the New York Times chief White House correspondent, and Michael Feinberg is MS Now's national security and intelligence analyst, as well as a former assistant special agent in charge with the FBI. It is good to see you all. Peter, the question of the hour, do Tillis or Cornyn actually hold the line?
It's a great question. Absolutely. Both of them have expressed some concern, some consternation. I mean, Senator Cornyn's case about the IRS get out of audit free card that Todd Blanche gave the president of the United States. And Tillis has been very concerned, obviously, about the Blanche's involvement in that and the politicization. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't be brought into the line in time for a vote, and it's possible they can, delay a vote until they can replace Graham on the committee, or they could find a way to get them past the committee and get them to the floor. But it's a dicier path, obviously, going forward. Lindsey Graham would have been a strong ally for Todd Blanche.
Michael Feinberg, we have seen Republicans extract what I would describe as pinky promises from nominees, only to quickly be made to look foolish. RFK on vaccines, Kash Patel on weaponizing the FBI. Is this actually an opportunity for Republicans to drill down on Todd Blanche, try to get some hard and fast commitments in terms of what he will or won't do as AG? Or should Blanche's time as acting AG just really speak for itself?
I'm going to sort of take a weaselly middle path between your two questions and just note that there is no reason at this point in the administration that any senators in any confirmation hearings should take in nominees averring that they're going to be apolitical, follow established guidelines and norms, and do things in a non-politically weaponized manner seriously. Every promise that you showed Todd Blanche making in his initial hearing has been functionally broken. And it's not just ideological outsiders to the administration saying this. We have it repeatedly said now by Article 3 federal judges who are noting that the DOJ is not operating in anything regarding that resembles its normal manner. We've had multiple justices in Illinois in the aftermath of Operation Midway Blitz. We have had judges in the Eastern District of Virginia as a result of the various mostly failed prosecutions of Jim Comey and Letitia James. What we're seeing from the Department of Justice is not an MO that justifies treating nominations with a business as usual template. Senators need to be asking questions, not just about, are you going to be true to your word going forward, but why haven't you been true to the words you've already given?
Right, especially when there are so many questions at play here, whether it is the weaponization fund, which Republicans seem to understand was politically toxic for them, whether it is the way that DOJ has handled the release of the Epstein files. And that's all set against the backdrop of what I think should be a really fundamental question, which is, can a president's personal attorney ever be refashioned into an attorney for the people?
Really, really important question. And it's amazing how quickly we find ourselves almost forgetting those fundamental questions just because there's been so much since we first posed that question. I want to echo one thing Michael said, and frankly, my compliments to you and your producers for that montage that opened the segment, because I mean, we've all been through all of the things since then, and we were all paying attention then too. But to hear them in rapid succession like that, edited like that, is such a powerful reminder, because as Michael just said, nothing that was stated in that montage has held true. Not one single thing he said in that montage has held true over the last 18 months. It is astonishing. So there are several prongs that are going to be at the fore on Wednesday. Epstein, for sure. Why are you going and meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell? Why were the redactions so faulty? Was it just error? And if it was error, was it carelessness or was it intent? What about this anti-weaponization fund? Why won't you put it in writing? You say it's dead, and then a federal judge asks you to put it in writing, and you still have not. What about the immunity, as both of them just referenced, the immunity deal, the get out of $100 million of tax liability card, which was really it got less attention for obvious reasons because paying money to people who beat up cops on January 6th is as salacious and absurd as it is on its face. But from Donald Trump's perspective, that $100 million immunity, that was the carrot all along. There is so much there, and all of it goes back to your first question, your fundamental question of first principles. That is the right question, Alicia.
Michael Feinberg, Peter Baker brought this up. I will get to the politics of it in a little bit, but the backdrop, of course, is Senator Graham's death Saturday night. Graham's own office has said it was caused by an aortic dissection, essentially a tear in his aorta brought on by heart disease. That would seem pretty straightforward. But then you have FBI Director Kash Patel putting out a tweet that starts out by praising Senator Graham, offering prayers for his family, but ends by writing, quote, "The FBI is assisting local authorities and has made every necessary resource available." Why is the director of the FBI offering to assist local authorities?
I mean, look, that is a question you can ask literally every other time Kash Patel tweets. We should not jump to conclusions about what the FBI is or is not doing based on his social media presence, simply because he tends to fire these things off, as near as we can tell, before actually getting briefed by the agents and analysts who know what the facts on the ground are. I was a little puzzled by that posting myself. The only thing I could possibly think of is that, Graham was working on a number of anti-Russian sanctions, and the Russians do have a tendency to murder political opponents, regardless of where in the world they are located. Graham recently traveled, I believe. So perhaps the FBI was just doing its due diligence and looking into that. But part of being a good FBI director is not getting people riled up when you don't need to. And given that we've so far seen zero evidence, quite the contrary, actually, that this was anything other than a heart condition, I don't know why Patel is tweeting about it. He should be tamping down speculation. And when there is something definable to tell the public, wait until that period.
Peter Baker, former Moscow bureau chief, I want you to feel free to weigh in if you think that is appropriate, because clearly this has added to already swirling theories online. But you also, in addition to all of this, now have Jake Clayton's hearing back on the books after the president had tanked it originally, saying he had changed his mind, wanted to keep Pulte in place. Do you have any reporting on why this is suddenly back on?
Yeah, first on the issue of the Russia thing, just to add to what we were just saying. I mean, it's certainly true. Russia has a track record of, assassinations and poisonings and so forth. One mitigated factor is that they tend to kill their own people, right? They tend to kill Russians that Putin or the people around him view as traitors in some fashion or another. They don't tend to kill, Americans that we know of. And that's the idea that there would be something untoward toward an American senator would be an extraordinary thing, an act of war, potentially even in some ways, or certainly the kind of thing you would imagine that a smart Russian leader wouldn't do. On the other hand, of course, Senator Graham was the leading voice in the Senate, certainly among the Republicans, in favor of these tightening sanctions on Russia, and had said during his visit to Kyiv just last week that he has secured President Trump's agreement to go forward with those sanctions. So that's why people are speculating. There's zero evidence that I know of, and I don't think we should be assuming that there is any. But that's the reason why people are wondering about it. Now, as to the issue of Jay Clayton's hearing, no, I know it's a good question why he's done that. Bill Pulte has used the very short time that he's had at the office of the director of the national intelligence to go ahead and purge a lot of people. And it may be that they've succeeded in doing what they wanted him to do. He could come in, be the hatchet man, go ahead and sweep out people they view as untrustworthy or not politically loyal, which, of course, is not what an intelligence apparatus is supposed to be. An intelligence apparatus is supposed to be providing independent information and analysis, not be a political instrument. But having done that, maybe Pulte's assignment has, been successfully accomplished as far as the White House is concerned, and they're ready to go ahead and get Clayton in there. And it possibly could be the Republicans on the Hill are pressuring the White House to get Clayton in there because they're very uncomfortable with Bill Pulte being at the intelligence office that he's at.